Hi there, you're listening to the Road Ahead podcast with me, James Grice. Thank you for listening. This is the first episode of the series that's going to happen this year. So myself, I want to kind of start off with a little introduction to myself and kind of why I wanted to create this podcast. So hopefully this time it will be quite short and sweet, but kind of give you a little more information about what I'm looking forward to in the future regarding the podcast and what you can expect. So I'll start off with talking about myself and a little bit about who I am to kind of give you a little bit of explanation. I'm doing a management degree at the moment at the University of Kent in Canterbury, just about to start searching for my actual jobs for September. And as you know, it's kind of a difficult time for everyone who's a graduate student or about to graduate and that, so it's going to be quite difficult to get a job and find those interviews. And I kind of really wanted to create this kind of podcast to kind of help in that respect of kind of giving more advice to people like myself and who are in this situation, be able to get people on the podcast to kind of answer questions from people who have put them in, and kind of get a more, deeper sense to how and what to do in this kind of situation, as well as like the mindset and kind of bit mentality behind it. I'm always fascinated by how people think and all that kind of stuff, so I really want to kind of go into that as well, especially as it's quite a challenging time, and I know myself as well, I feel a bit uneasy about all things happening, and do feel a bit challenged by what I've got to do for the next couple of months to see if I can get a job at the end of graduating. It's kind of a challenging time and bit scary as well, and I know that a lot of people out there also do feel like this, so I know that the more you know, the less you fear in that sense. So it'd be great to get more people on here talking about it, talking about everything to do with how to, all the little tips and tricks and all things you could do to kind of boost yourself up in that regard, and kind of hopefully get yourself a job through all these tips. And that's kind of really what I want to do with this podcast in the grand scheme of things. So really for the future, if you are listening to this and you do have some kind of questions or worries, or there's something in your back of your mind that you're thinking about regarding this situation, please send me a quick message or something on Instagram or through LinkedIn or wherever you're listening to this podcast, just we can get that on here and we can kind of send those questions to people who I might get on here. I'm looking to kind of get people who are specialists in HR, people who are in interviews and people who are part of the actual industry and what they're looking for in a graduate and what the things that stand out for them. Definitely want to also talk to people who are also just at the university and what their opinions are, as well as kind of get some guests on here, or just for students themselves, and kind of hear from their people, our perspective of what they're thinking as well. So yeah, definitely please get in contact with me if you have any questions or worries or anything you want to ask or anything. And if you want to be anonymous, that's fine. Just let me know when you're asking me the question. I can always just ask it for myself as well. Hopefully future interviews will also be online through Zoom and Skype, so then we can have them as a video and put them up online and through social media as well, so we're not quite more interesting to listen to and watch. And hopefully they can bring much more value to the podcast with their opinions and experience. So finally, I'll quickly just talk about myself and what I've been up to recently and who am I, basically. So I'm 22, doing a management degree at the University of Kent. I've just recently finished my placement year at June London as a finance intern, basically going around doing the accounting and finance for all the sub-departments, accounts payable and all those interesting ones. So it was really good to have that kind of experience of actually going out in the field and having that placement experience. Now I really kind of know if it's kind of something I'm very much interested in and definitely will pursue a career in it. But as well as that professional career, I do have an interest in starting my own business. I have my own little startup at the moment called Stay En Route, which basically helps the vision impaired and blind to travel by train. It's a little app that goes on their phone, and when they open it, you can search for the destination they're going to. And it allows them to kind of have an alert system based on location, so that they can now on the train relax, as a normal person, listen to a podcast or like this one, or a video, or anything that we take for granted. Because if you are vision impaired or blind on the train, most of the time, if you don't have Stay En Route, you will be listening out for the voice announcements, especially in a crowded cab, it can be difficult because you're just there waiting just for the next one to know how far you are and how long you got to go. So that's kind of really what Stay En Route is kind of taking away from, and allowing that stress to go to the app and give those people that kind of relaxing sensation whilst on the train or public transport, or the bus or taxi. But as well as that, we kind of wanted to see, the business help other people. So we've kind of helped I myself, a normal commuter, kind of did use the app a little bit when I was falling asleep sometimes. So definitely useful for normal people as well. But as you know, coronavirus has kind of stopped people using public transport. A lot of people working from home now, so much lower amount of commuters. So we kind of had to pivot the app in that sense, and we're kind of really focusing on more of the business side of it, advertising local businesses and restaurants and cafes by creating an app which basically has a platform for these businesses to go on and kind of show off what they're doing to kind of help stop the spread of coronavirus at their establishment, and really help give that confidence back to the consumer of knowing what they're doing and how they're fixing it to kind of help them bring back that more consumer demand back to the business. And that's really where I'm at the business at the moment, is kind of getting more of those businesses on board as advertised partners and really kind of helping them show themselves off on the app at the moment. I'd really love to have this app go further and potentially be something that I have as a main income source, really. But definitely want to keep my options open. So I always want to pursue my professional career in that accounting and finance as well. And that's something else I want to kind of look into, kind of work out, how I balance all that kind of stuff this year. But yeah, that's kind of myself. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, as I interview more people, we can learn from their experiences and go from there. So thank you very much for listening to the first episode of the Road Ahead podcast with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the second episode. Cheers.